Doha, September 14, 2025. On the eve of an emergency summit of Arab and Islamic leaders convened in Qatar, the atmosphere was heavy with urgency, anger and defiance. The Qatari Prime Minister, Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman al-Thani, took the podium at a preparatory meeting in Doha, using the stage to deliver one of his strongest rebukes yet against Israel and its ongoing military campaign. Speaking firmly before diplomats, foreign ministers and regional representatives, al-Thani left little doubt about his message. He did not mince words. The time has come for the international community to stop using double standards and to punish Israel for all the crimes it has committed, he declared, drawing applause from the audience. His remarks come after an unprecedented Israeli airstrike on Hamas leaders in Doha, an attack that has shaken the Gulf and raised questions about the sanctity of Qatar's neutrality in the regional conflict. For Qatar, a state that has long positioned itself as both a mediator and an outspoken supporter of Palestinian rights, the assault struck directly at its sovereignty and at the heart of its foreign policy stance. The emergency summit, organised hastily by Doha, brings together Arab and Islamic leaders at a moment of heightened tension. The Israeli strike on Hamas figures in the Qatari capital is being described by officials as not only a violation of international norms, but also as an act that could ignite broader confrontation across the Middle East. In this charged setting, al-Thani's words were meant to rally support and to remind the world that silence or selective outrage is, in his view, enabling further violence. Israel needs to know that the ongoing war of extermination that our brotherly Palestinian people is being subjected to, and whose aim is to expel them from their land and forcibly displace them from their homeland, will not work, no matter how many claims it makes to justify it, he said. The Prime Minister's statement was laced with both moral conviction and political calculation. Qatar has long walked a delicate line, hosting a US military base while maintaining ties with Hamas, funding Gaza's humanitarian needs, and positioning itself as an intermediary in negotiations. But after the events in Doha, the government is signalling a harder line. The accusation of double standards is not new in Arab political discourse, but al-Thani elevated it into a central theme of his address. For years, Qatar and other Arab states have argued that the international community, particularly Western powers, applies inconsistent measures when judging conflicts. While Israel's security is defended as sacrosanct, Palestinian suffering, they contend, is often overlooked or justified under the banner of counter-terrorism. By explicitly calling on the global community to end this hypocrisy, the Prime Minister gave voice to a sentiment that resonates widely across the region. The time has come for the international community to stop using double standards, he repeated, stressing that without consistent accountability, peace cannot take hold. The audience, which included senior envoys from multiple Arab capitals, interpreted the speech not only as a defense of Palestinian rights, but also as a warning to the West. Qatar's leadership was signaling that its patience with the status quo, endless negotiations, cyclical violence and selective interventions has run out. More striking was al-Thani's demand that Israel face punishment. By using the word punish, the Qatari Prime Minister edged beyond the usual language of diplomacy, which often speaks of accountability, inquiries, or resolutions. His phrasing suggested concrete measures, sanctions, international isolation, or even coordinated regional responses. For Qatar, a country with limited military power but substantial diplomatic and financial clout, the pathway to punishment is likely to be political rather than martial. Doha could push for resolutions at the United Nations, mobilize Islamic organizations, or leverage its influence over energy markets to pressure Western capitals. The speech set the tone for what could become a broader campaign of escalation in international forums. Perhaps the most powerful and provocative line in al-Thani's address was his characterization of Israel's campaign as a war of extermination. The Prime Minister accused Israel of pursuing a strategy aimed not at security, but at erasing Palestinian presence altogether. The ongoing war of extermination that our brotherly Palestinian people is being subjected to, and whose aim is to expel them from their land and forcibly displace them from their homeland, will not work, he insisted. By invoking terms that echo genocide and ethnic cleansing, al-Thani positioned Israel's actions within a broader historical and moral context. His choice of words was calculated to shock the conscience of the international community and to mobilize outrage. The description also reflects a growing anger in Arab capitals where Israel's campaign is increasingly viewed as existential rather than tactical. The trigger for this emergency gathering was the Israeli airstrike that targeted Hamas leaders in the Qatari capital. Details of the operation remain murky, but it was widely reported that Israeli aircraft carried out precision strikes against figures deemed critical to Hamas's command structure. Doha has condemned the strike as a flagrant violation of its sovereignty, while Israel has argued that Hamas leaders used Qatar as a safe haven to coordinate attacks. The strike shattered any illusions that the conflict could be contained within Gaza or Israel. For Qatar, it was a wake-up call, a direct intrusion into its territory that could not go unanswered. Al-Thani's fiery address reflects both a domestic demand for strong leadership and a broader regional pushback against what is perceived as unchecked Israeli aggression. The Prime Minister's speech also underscores the enduring centrality of the Palestinian question in Arab politics. For years, normalization deals between Israel and certain Arab states, including the Abraham Accords, seem to sideline Palestine. But the latest escalation has reignited the issue with renewed urgency. Al-Thani reminded his audience that the Palestinian people are not simply victims of circumstance, but of deliberate policies. By accusing Israel of seeking to expel them from their land and forcibly displace them, he echoed long-standing fears of another Nakba, the mass displacement of Palestinians in 1948. His words were not only historical, but also forward-looking, warning that without immediate action, history could repeat itself in devastating ways. The preparatory meeting in Doha was not merely about words. It was about setting the stage for collective action. Qatar's Prime Minister framed the summit as a turning point, a moment when Arab and Islamic nations could move beyond symbolic condemnation toward coordinated policies. The tone was urgent. Al-Thani insisted that no amount of Israeli justification could mask the reality on the ground. No matter how many claims it makes to justify it, it will not work, he declared, dismissing Israel's defense narrative as hollow and unconvincing. His words aimed to strip away any veneer of legitimacy that Israel might project. The implications of Al-Thani's address extend well beyond the Arab world. By calling for Israel's punishment and accusing the international community of double standards, Qatar is challenging the global order that has long shielded Israel from severe consequences. If Doha can mobilize support among Islamic states and sympathetic countries in the global south, it may succeed in altering the diplomatic landscape. However, such efforts are bound to face resistance from Western capitals, particularly Washington, which has consistently defended Israel's right to self-defense. The coming days will reveal whether Qatar's bold rhetoric translates into concrete action or remains a symbolic gesture of defiance. For Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman al-Thani, the speech was as much about Qatar's role as it was about Palestine. By hosting the emergency summit and issuing a forceful condemnation of Israel, Doha is reasserting its position as a leader in regional diplomacy. The country is signalling that it will not be cowed, even when targeted directly. The Prime Minister's message was unmistakable. Qatar sees the Palestinian struggle as inseparable from its own sovereignty and dignity. The strike in Doha transformed a distant war into a domestic crisis, and in doing so, it galvanized the leadership to speak with unusual sharpness. As the Arab and Islamic leaders prepare to gather in Doha, the world is watching closely. Al-Thani's words will serve as the foundation of the summit's deliberations. Whether they lead to concrete measures or remain symbolic will depend on the willingness of states to translate outrage into action. For now, one thing is clear. Qatar has drawn a line in the sand. It has accused Israel of crimes, condemned the world's double standards, and vowed that Palestinian displacement will never succeed. And at the center of it all was the Qatari Prime Minister's unflinching declaration. The time has come for the international community to stop using double standards and to punish Israel for all the crimes it has committed.